In a really cool surprise move, Metro Exodus was announced at Xbox's press conference as coming to both Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass for PC. Now, this game came out in February 15th, 2019, which is about 4 months ago. And it was received with some controversy at first. It's by 4A Games, published by Deep Silver, and it continues the story of Artyom, who is a Spartan in this post-apocalyptic world in which people live in underground tunnels known as the Metro. A lot of controversy came out with this game because it was announced to be an Epic Games Store exclusive, which a lot of PC players who love Steam were not too happy about. And a lot of people felt it was a really simple cash grab because at the time, and really still at the time of this recording in mid-June, the Epic Games Store's functionality is just not quite on par with Steam. And a lot of people felt that it was just 4A Games trying to make a quick buck because Epic Games gives you a little bit more money as a kickback as opposed to Steam. So it wasn't received very well in that regard, especially when push came to shove and a lot of people associated with the product basically came out and said, well, if you don't like it, we're not making any more games on computer anymore. We're only going to go to console. And it just turned into a really nasty PR nightmare. Now, the game did receive very high critical reviews. That said, those reviews came out before all this controversy. So I don't know how well the game actually sold. It's kind of hard to tell, but I can tell you guys that I have spent about 12 hours with it so far. I am really close to wrapping up the main campaign, and I wanted to give you guys my review on it. So I'm not going to get any spoilers, so don't worry about that. As with all my reviews, I'm not going to give you a score. I'm just going to give you a recommendation, and I'm going to give you some pros, I'm going to give you some cons, and then you go out and decide. And if you have Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate, you should play it, really. Because don't take my word for it. Try it on your own. Let's start off with the cons first. The pacing in this game is a little wonky. There are times that you have fun going out and exploring these areas, and there's a lot of finding, what happened to the surface before you showed up. Reading diaries and collecting recordings and getting radio transmissions from your teammates. And that's all great and well. And then you'll come to a part where you have to talk to an NPC to hear more about a quest or to advance the story. And some of these cutscenes can last, not even cutscenes, most of them are in game. I should be clear on that. Most of these last upwards of 5 minutes. And it's just like to the point that I'm sitting back, I'm leaning back in my chair, I'm playing Blades on my phone, just half listening because they're just droning on. And it's these really long philosophical discussions. And the problem is your protagonist is silent. Now, Artyom will talk as he's writing his journal leading into a chapter. So as a chapter loads up, it's him writing, talking about what he needs to do next or what he just did or how he's feeling. But in the game, not a word from this guy. And what really kills the pacing is that it's just people talking to you and you just standing there. So a main character in this game is your wife, and she's talking to you about how she's scared and how this new world is frightening, even though she's a soldier, and she gets into some trouble early on, and I'm glad you were there for me, and thank you for being comforting. And I could just imagine your character just like, because you're not talking. And it's like, why? Like, I don't understand. Clearly they have a voice actor because they're utilized in loading screens leading up to like a chapter, but it just really kills the pacing. The other big problem with the game is that the AI gets in its own way, particularly in open world settings. Now, this is a con and a pro, but ultimately it really falls more in the con section because the AI sucks. The AI is twitchy. They are not mindful of the direction you need to go in. And a lot of times you'll encounter these bandit camps out in an open world. You'll encounter a group of enemies that are not human enemies. out in the open world. And they will sometimes run at you and then just stop and turn around and walk away. And then like almost like they're leashed somehow. Like there's a trigger of how far they move from a certain point before they recalibrate what they're doing. And it's not like glitchy AI, it's not like a robot's glitching out or anything. These are supposed to be believed to be humans or these animals, and they just do really bizarre things. Sometimes they'll just be in perfect cover and they'll just run out and stop and turn their back to you. I've seen that happen quite a few times. Sometimes they will shoot at the wall in front of them, and like I said, it's like a wall that's like shoulder or waist high. Their gun will be under the wall and they'll just be shooting the wall. And I don't know. It does kind of kill the game, honestly, sometimes, because it could be a pro. And I think the times when it works, it's awesome. But when it doesn't work, it's like, oh my God. But for as much as I say bad things about the game, it does a lot of things right. So sticking to that open world hub area that I was talking about, it's open world like God of War was open world. There are areas you can explore, optional areas to see, and the game will direct you to different parts of these hub areas. Sometimes the game is very linear, like a corridor shooter. Sometimes it's like, hey, we're going to land in this area, go figure out this thing. We think it's over here, we're not sure. And the most fun I've had in the game is exploring at my own pace, scavenging through, taking out other camps, eavesdropping on conversations, picking locks, that sort of thing, to find more upgrades for my character. And the open world isn't like Assassin's Creed where it's just overwhelming, too much, just bloat. All the open world, in my opinion, in this game really has a purpose and a meaning. And everything is really intentionally put in certain places to tell that story. And I think it's very well received. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous game. I'm playing it on my computer, but just for kicks, I loaded it up on my Xbox One X, and this is an HDR showcase game. This is one of those games you want to invite your friends over and say, so what's all this fuss of HDR about? This is the game you should show them. The lighting versus, the light and dark contrast is ridiculous. When you're holding your lighter and you're in it's in complete darkness and you're holding your little lighter in front of you, and just the flicks of ember that kind of fade out into the horizon is like Pixar level animation. It is jaw-dropping gorgeous. It runs really well. There's great ragdoll physics on all the enemies that you fight. All the actions that you do, since it's all from a first-person perspective, makes sense. So when you think about your character working on a crafting table and tinkering with things on a belt in front of them, or a table in front of them, when they go to put their backpack on, the way that they slide their hand around the strap and you see their hand go like this, and then from looking down at your chest, you see the other hand come around and your character does this. Just an example. It really has a nice feel to it. They really spent a lot of time animating, opening doors, reloading guns, making bullets, crouching, crawling, interacting with the world around you. And it really feels so immersive. Then you take that awesome graphics and you lay it on top, and wow, it's beautiful. The other thing that I really like about this game, and what I'm going to close this video on, is that decisions have consequences without being Life is Strange like on the nose. I'll give you an example without being too spoilery. There's a part of the game where you have to steal a piece of equipment from somebody else. You could walk in guns blazing. You could do a stealthy approach, or you could do something in between. And the game plays a lot like Dishonored in that sense, where there's multiple paths to get through. You can crawl under a certain thing, you can climb over the top, you can walk right in the front door and kick it down and just start unloading shells into everybody. The choices are yours. But your decision has consequences, because depending on, and it's not like there's a timer or anything, or a counter or anything like that, there's no metrics, but depending on how much of a ruckus you make will determine how much the guards around you are alerted, how much they see you as a hostile threat, and ultimately what happens to you. Yes, you are going to complete your mission. You're going to make it, obviously, and steal this equipment. That's not in question. But what happens after that? Were more guards radioed in for support? Were your other teammates who were involved in the mission comfortable with what you did? And it plays out, and certain teammates will talk less to you, or certain teammates will appreciate what you did. All I can say is, without being spoilery here, everything in this game, every choice you make, every move you make ultimately wraps into the narrative. Even just something as simple as going into an NPC's house without holstering your gun will actually make a difference in what the NPC says to you. Looting through their house while you're looking at them, while you're talking to them, turning on off a radio that they're listening to. The world reacts to the choices you make. And you really start to feel like this experience is uniquely your own, because when you combine those amazing graphics with all of that first person, like I was saying, how like you put your backpack on, or how immersive you get in this world, when you combine that with this really great consequence system, you really do get lost in this game. And it takes on the life of more of an RPG and less of a shooter. And it has just this hidden layer of meaning and depth to it. And you will really start to actively think about your consequences and your choices and such before you make them, because you are now cognizant that you are in this world and your choices do matter. And for that reason alone, I highly recommend this game. It is absolutely amazing. And I will go as far, and it's been a slow 2019, I will go as far as to say this is definitely on my Game of the Year candidates. It is that good. So if you have Xbox, or Xbox, if you have Xbox Game Pass or Xbox Game Pass for PC, or neither, and you just want to check it out, I highly recommend you do so. The name of the game is Metro Exodus. With that, I'm going to close out this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.